You ever see a seasoned fighter argue in the ring? He doesn't flail, he doesn't scream. He locks in, studies his opponent, and waits for the right moment. That's what real masculinity looks like. It's not emotional chaos. It's emotional control. It's not shouting to be heard. It's presence that demands respect without ever raising a voice. That's what today's message is about. Not the loud man, not the reactive man, but the disciplined one. The one who doesn't need to prove himself because his energy already speaks. This is real mindset motivation, not hype, not noise, but the kind of power that moves in silence and makes others adjust without explanation. Too many men are wasting time trying to be understood by people who've already decided to misunderstand them. But kings don't defend the crown, they wear it and keep building. So if you've ever been baited, provoked, or disrespected, this video is your mirror. Watch closely. And before you go deeper, drop a comment. What conversation are you done explaining yourself in? This might be the one video that shifts your presence forever. Let's get into it. Part 1. The discipline of stillness. Power without performance. There's a difference between being powerful and needing to prove you are, and most men confuse the two. I once spoke with an old boxing coach named Reuben Sykes, not the guy who made headlines, but the one who shaped champions behind the scenes. He told me something I never forgot. He said, "The moment a fighter starts responding to the crowd, he's no longer fighting his opponent, he's fighting his ego." That line hit different because most men today aren't fighting life. They're fighting the need to be seen, heard, understood. They're chasing validation in every room they enter, barking back at every insult, arguing to protect a reputation they haven't even finished building yet. But here's the truth. You don't have to respond to everything. Not every look deserves your attention. Not every challenge needs a counter. Real strength isn't proven through noise. It's confirmed in stillness. When you're calm in the face of provocation, when you don't flinch while others posture, that's presence. That's power. The kind that doesn't rely on external approval because it's already been earned privately in silence through discipline. This is where true mindset motivation lives, not in empty hype, but in emotional control. The men who carry this know they can strike, but choose not to. Not because they're weak, but because their purpose is louder than their pride. Stillness doesn't mean silence. It means precision. It means standing in who you are so deeply that nothing shallow can pull you off center. And that requires a different kind of training, not just in the body, but in the mind. You have to stop letting others write your emotional script. If they can make you argue, explain, or defend, they own you. But when you step back, breathe and say nothing, you disrupt the pattern. You set the standard. That's what most people can't handle, your refusal to dance with their dysfunction. You want to be respected, then you have to start by mastering yourself. That means controlling your energy, keeping your word, honoring your boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable. You don't become high value by reacting to low energy. You become high value by being unavailable for anything that compromises your integrity. So here's your first challenge. What's one space in your life where you've been loud when you should have been still? Where have you been defending instead of deciding? Name it, own it. And from this moment forward, shift. Not for them, for you. Because kings don't argue, they evaluate. And if it's beneath the standard, they simply don't respond, they move. And when they move, the room feels it. In part 2, we'll go deeper into the emotional traps men fall into. The ones designed to bait you, break you, and control your power. We're going to dissect that manipulation so you never fall for it again. Stay locked in. This isn't just a lesson, it's a way of living. Part 2. Emotional traps. The setup you never saw coming. The moment you feel the heat rise in your chest, the tension in your jaw, the pull to respond. That's not power. That's a setup. Because most of what's thrown at you isn't real confrontation. It's bait. And the second you react, you're no longer leading the moment. You're being led. See, emotional traps don't always come loud. Sometimes they're quiet. A subtle insult disguised as a joke. A smirk during a serious conversation. A calculated silence that invites you to over-explain. These are weapons, and if you're not grounded, you won't even know you've stepped onto the battlefield until it's too late. Why do they do it simple? Because it works. Because most men haven't trained themselves to pause. Most men equate reaction with strength, like yelling, clapping back, or storming out somehow proves they're not to be played with. But that's not strength. That's predictability. And predictable men are easy to control. If someone knows your buttons, they don't need to outthink you, they just need to push. And when they do, your energy is no longer yours. You're responding on their terms, in their time, within their frame. That's how power gets stolen in plain sight. But the man who pauses, the man who breathes, the man who sees the setup and chooses not to play, he's the one in control. Not because he's avoiding confrontation, but because he's choosing clarity over chaos. He understands that silence is a weapon, that stillness is a strategy, that presence when grounded is louder than any argument ever will be. That's mindset motivation at its highest level. Not just doing hard things, but staying emotionally unshaken when everything around you is baiting a reaction. This is what separates men who move with purpose from those who move with pride. The ones who burn energy proving they're not to be messed with, versus the ones who simply don't engage with nonsense in the first place. Here's the truth. Most won't admit. You're not losing power by walking away. You're reclaiming it. You're saying, I choose peace, not performance. That's not weakness. That's dominance. That's emotional discipline in real time. So ask yourself, where in your life are you still getting baited? Who or what still pulls you out of your frame? Call it out in the comments, because when you name the trap, you rob it of its leverage. In part 3, we'll break down the most misunderstood tool in a man's arsenal. Silence, not passive silence, tactical silence. The kind that doesn't just protect your peace, but shifts the entire room. Let's sharpen it. Part 3. The power of tactical silence. Silence isn't weakness, it's control, it's clarity, it's war strategy. Most men confuse silence with passivity. They think if they don't respond, they're backing down. But silence, when chosen consciously, isn't submission, it's separation. It's the space where chaos burns itself out without ever touching you. Here's what most people don't realize. Loud men are easy to predict. You push, they react. You insult, they bite. You poke, they explode. But the man who doesn't respond, who doesn't flinch, who hears the disrespect and chooses stillness instead of escalation, that man holds the room without lifting a finger. Silence is uncomfortable for them because it exposes the emptiness of their words. It reflects their insecurity. It reveals the imbalance. And in that pause, they start to question themselves. That's when the power shifts. That's when they realize they're no longer in control of the narrative. You are. This is what mindset motivation looks like in practice. Not just waking up early or grinding at the gym, but holding your center when your pride wants to lash out. Choosing discipline over dramatics. Choosing sovereignty over survival mode. When you stop responding to everything, you force people to meet your standard or fall away. You make it clear my attention is earned, not demanded. My energy isn't cheap and I don't entertain disrespect. Here's the tactical side of silence. It creates pressure. People are used to noise. They're used to reactions. So when you say nothing, when you hold your posture and stay grounded, you disrupt their rhythm. They expected a fight. You gave them reflection. And most people aren't ready to see themselves that clearly. The key is this. Don't use silence to avoid. Use it to command. Be intentional. Be present. Let your lack of reaction mean something. Let it be a message. I heard you, I'm aware, but you don't control me. So ask yourself, when was the last time your silence made more impact than your words ever could? Comment it below. Speak the moment that proved your stillness was your strength. Because in part 4, we're taking this one level higher. We're talking about walking away, not as surrender, but as elevation, as a man's most powerful response to anything that's beneath his standard. And when you walk away without looking back, That's when the crown stops being questioned. Let's keep going. Part 4. Walking away. The final word without saying one. A man who knows who he is does not chase arguments. He doesn't chase apologies, and he doesn't chase people. He walks away, not because he's afraid, not because he's weak, but because his peace is more valuable than proving a point. That's the decision that separates men who live by ego from men who move with clarity. Walking away is not about defeat. It's about dominance through detachment. It's the moment you decide that your energy will no longer be spent trying to fix what doesn't respect you, that your presence is no longer available for chaos, disrespect, or games. Most men stay too long in jobs that undervalue them, in relationships that drain them, in conversations that go nowhere. Why? Because they're afraid of what silence feels like. Because their pride needs the last word, but pride is cheap. Peace is not. And the man who can turn around, exit the room, and say nothing, he doesn't lose power, he multiplies it. He sends a message louder than any response ever could. This is beneath me, and I don't owe you anything. You don't need to clap back, you don't need to over-explain. You don't need to win an argument with someone who doesn't even respect your presence. Because the truth is, when you walk away, you remove their access not just to your time, but to your power. And that absence, that distance, it stings. Because people expect you to fight. They expect you to plead. They expect you to react. So when you don't, they're left with themselves. No target, no battle, no emotional fuel, just silence. And that silence reflects back something they're not ready to see. They no longer have control over you. This is mindset motivation in its final form. Not just discipline in action, but discipline in departure. It's the wisdom to know when to stay, when to speak, and when to leave without warning. Not out of emotion, out of decision. This is about legacy, not ego, because a man building something real doesn't have time for drama. He doesn't lower himself for temporary wins. He doesn't waste words trying to convince people who've already shown they don't deserve his explanation. He moves forward focused and unapologetic. So, here's your challenge. Where in your life are you still staying when you should have walked away? What habit, what relationship, what version of yourself have you outgrown but keep entertaining out of guilt or pride? Drop it in the comments. Let that be your line in the sand. And in part 5, we bring it all home. Because walking away only has power if it's built on a foundation of self-respect. That's the final piece. And that's what truly makes a man untouchable. Not his reaction, not his silence, but the standard he refuses to lower for anyone. We're almost there. Part 5, self-respect. The silent standard that commands the room. Every man wants to be respected, but most are chasing it backwards. They think respect is something you earn from others. They forget. It starts with what you give yourself. Because if you don't respect your time, your word, your boundaries, why should anyone else? You want to know the fastest way to lose your power. Compromise your standards just to keep the peace. Entertain nonsense, just to be liked. Argue, just to be heard. But the man who respects himself doesn't need validation. His energy speaks before he does. His silence isn't avoidance, it's precision, and his boundaries non-negotiable. That's what makes him different. That's why people hesitate before disrespecting him, not because he's aggressive, but because he's unavailable for anything that insults his value. This is the final evolution of masculine presence. You stop reacting, stop explaining, and start living by your standard. You show people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. So here's your final challenge. Drop in the comments. One standard you're no longer negotiating with. Speak it, claim it, build from it. And if this series hit you hard, share it, subscribe. This isn't noise. This is clarity. This is your mindset motivation, not just for today, but for every day. You decide to walk like a man who knows who he is. No more explaining the crown. Just wear it. The lesson is simple, but it's not easy. Silence is strength. Walking away is power. Self-respect is the foundation. You don't need to argue to prove your worth. You don't need to raise your voice to raise your value. When you carry yourself with discipline, restraint, and presence, you shift the atmosphere without saying a word. This is what real mindset motivation looks like. Not hype, not noise, but clarity, control, standards. You refuse to lower. You're not here to be loud. You're here to be undeniable. So take this with you. When the room tests you, stay calm. When disrespect shows up, stay grounded. When pride wants to react, respond with purpose or don't respond at all. Drop a comment below. What are you no longer explaining? What standard are you locking in today? And if this message shook something in you, share it. Don't just consume mindset motivation. Live it. Subscribe now. This is how we move. This is